Good morning and Jai Guru friends. I would like to introduce, we have the good fortune of having Brahmachari Gaurav here with us today. He's visiting us from the Delhi Center, and I'd like to give you a brief introduction about Brahmachari Gaurav. He was only 15 when he joined the path in 2004, and he had the good fortune of living close to Swami Kriyananda, like many other of his lifelong students of Paramhansa Yogananda ji. Gaurav is a graduate in business administration, and he was a part of the general management team with Ananda Sangha India. He's a meditation and wellness teacher. He has done many programs at corporates and regularly offers programs for business leaders around the globe. He regularly takes people on spiritual treks, retreats, and pilgrimages, and has offered to share his learnings based on that with us today. For people who have missed out on the session yesterday, I would just like to let them know that Gaurav delved deep into the areas of comfort zone, of how we always tend to go in that comfort zone and are shaken when someone disturbs us from there. He also told us to introspect on how do we meet up with people who challenge us from our regular thought process, and how pilgrimages are an intense exercise in spiritual archaeology. We invite him today to further delve into pilgrimages and transforming our role in spiritual journey.
Well, thank you, everyone, and everyone who's also joining online. It's a joy to be here with all of you today. And it's a beautiful center. I said this yesterday. Very, very many blessings, many congratulations to all of you for this beautiful center. And today we'll continue this satsang on this topic, and I'll share several things. But let's begin with a prayer and one brief chant, and then we'll have our sharing for today. Yeah. Okay. So let's all sit up straight and take a moment to center ourselves. Open our hearts. And let's offer this prayer together. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, beloved Masters of self-realization, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashay, Swami Shri Yukteswar, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints and sages of all religions, we bow to you all. Beloved Masters, help us, guide us in this life. We will reason, we will act, we will, but guide thou our reason, will and activity, that it may reflect thy will. We are your instruments. Make us ever perfect channels of thy inspiration, of thy joy, of thy love in this world. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Reveal thyself, 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 reveal thyself. Reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself. Reveal thyself, 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 reveal thyself. Mother Shande, 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 Madare Shande, Madare Shande, Madare Shande. Reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself. Reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself. Let's just take a minute, let's close our eyes. Let's concentrate strongly at the spiritual eye. Throw the heart open with all the fervor of your soul. Call to God as Father, Mother, Friend, Beloved, Guru, forgetting everything else. Reveal thyself, reveal thyself, reveal thyself to me as infinite love, as eternal joy, as deep stillness. Om. Peace. Amen. Well, how is everybody? How is everybody? Okay, good. Now I believe you. Okay, so once again, very warm welcome to all of you. It's a joy to be with all of you today, and also welcome to everyone who's joining online for the satsang. So I'm going to be continuing today on the theme that we started talking about yesterday. And, from my experience of having taken many people over the last 4 or 5 years, especially on spiritual travels and pilgrimages, out in nature, retreats. And we had been talking yesterday that what are lessons? What are some things that I have learned in the process of doing these pilgrimages and travels, and there was a lot of them. I was counting them recently. There's about 25 of them that we have done in the last, or offered in the last 4 years. So that's a lot. Yeah, Divisha. So that's a lot, and there's a lot of learning that we, when I started to think about it, that we gained. As someone was saying, being in our comfort zone, travel often takes us out of our comfort zone, especially when it's spiritual travel. And then there were other things we discussed, but today I want to pick it up from a slightly different thread. And I mentioned this yesterday that, you know, our lives in the city, which I think most of us, all of us are living in cities, I sometimes, feel that our lives are so planned, so structured, maybe over planned. We have our routines that sometimes, because of being so structured, God cannot reach us in our day to day lives. And I often, I've realized in the course of these travels, pilgrimages, going in nature, I found that I have myself been able to feel God's presence more. And, does this mean you can't feel Him in the city? No, that doesn't mean that. But I've found it's at least easier to feel Him outside. And of course, then you can bring Him back when you've had some experience. Then, of course, you don't forget that experience. You bring Him back into your kitchen, into your house, into your living room. That's the whole point, on one level, why we go on pilgrimages and trips like that. But I realized that it was easier for me to feel God's presence out in nature, because, like I said, it's an uncontrolled environment. I am not dealing with all the things that I have set up for myself, because in the cities, we know exactly what we want to do, where we want to go, how we want to accomplish it. Technology is so much of a part of life. And we sometimes forget. We sometimes forget. um, and I like to say sometimes, don't forget to leave some room in your plans for God. Don't structure it so much that God has no chance to enter our lives. Like, there's a friend of ours in Ranikhet. We've started a little retreat in Ranikhet, and he's built a beautiful home, very beautiful. But he's also put so much technology in his home. Like, he has Alexa in his bathroom, and he tells Alexa, okay, I want the water to be coming at this point from the water pump, and this temperature. And like, very good. That's wonderful. But what's the point? The point is not to take the city into the countryside, you know because then we are doing the same thing. We are then. And why do we do that in the cities? I think it's the general consciousness. It makes us think, overthink, analyze, and everyone is doing it on one level out in the world. And Swamiji says we catch that. We may not realize it, but we are catching thoughts that are whirling all around us. And you may think, no, I'm going to do japa while cooking, and next thing you know, you are not. You're doing something else. So these things happen. Now, I said, and I want to share stories now, from my own experience and how it works, because then that might give some of us hope that it works, and maybe this is how we do it, or how we could try doing it. So, one time I remember, this was when I was living in our monastery in Khandala, which some of we had that about 7, 8 years ago. And one day, one brother monk of and I, we decided to take a little holiday out and by the ocean. So we decided to go to Kashid beach, which it's not too far from here either. And but we said we are not going to, and we were planning to stay for a few nights, but we said we are not going to use Google to tell us where we are going to stay or to find a good place for us. We are going to ask Divine Mother. So when we left home, when we left the monastery, that we made up our mind, okay, we did a prayer and we said, Divine Mother, now you lead us where you want to lead us. So we reached Kashid, and we would look at places, and we said, let's tune in. Which place looks like the one Divine Mother has in mind for us? This resort, that resort. And we started with, no, not this. We went inside one of them. It was not very uplifting. I said, no, no, let's keep moving. So we kept moving, but we moved so much we left the city. And we're like, oh, where are the resorts? They were all finished. But we said, no, Divine Mother is guiding us, so let's have faith. Let's keep moving. And we kept driving, and we kept driving, and now evening fell and night was approaching, and we suddenly saw a board, very old rustic looking board, and the name attracted us. Of There was a resort, but it was very vague. It was like, keep going straight and then you'll find something. So we said, okay, the name looks attractive, let's go. And we went, and we drove, and finally on the highway, there was a sign, turn right, and it was a dirt road. If you've been to Watunde, it was like very, very bad. So we was again, really, middle of the night, should we do this? But we did. We kept going, we kept going, and finally we reached this beautiful resort just by the ocean, very large property. And we liked it. We said, how much is it going to cost us? And we inquired, and I said, okay, it's fine if this is what Divine Mother wants. And the whole place was empty. There was nobody staying there. But when we went to our rooms and came down, there was one family just playing on the grassy lawn. And when we were having our dinner, they came up, the husband came up, and he said, hey, where are you from? And he started talking. And I told him about Master. I said, and he said, hey, my wife knows your guru. And he called his wife. And he said, come, 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 Malika, come here. And she said, oh, I met Swami Kriyananda in Rotary Club in Bombay. I attended a talk of his. I'm like, wow. And they happened to be the owners of that resort. They had just come for a weekend from Mumbai, and we just had a very nice connection. And I said, okay, somebody knows Master. We talked about Master a little bit. It was very uplifting. And it was good. Divine Mother found us a place. We didn't have to rely on Google. But there was one more interesting, um, going forward some years. Yesterday, I was mentioning to you that after I came away from the monastery and when I moved to North India, there was a time where I was not sure what should I do, and I took a seclusion. This was in the Himalayas, and while I was there, I was doing everything, but I was in my comfort zone. I was talking about it, right? I was doing my sadhanas, kriyas, everyday japa, taking long walks with Divine Mother, but I was not serving. And that was brought home to me when I had a dream. Swamiji said, start serving. So I said, okay. And then I realized my money was running out also. So that was the other thing that helped me get out of my comfort zone. So I started praying. I said, Divine Mother, I didn't get the point. I know, but I have no idea how to, because I was sitting out in the jungle somewhere. How do you do that? And suddenly one day I get a call. I'm like, unknown number. And I pick up the call. This was maybe 4 years after this happened. And who calls me but this lady I had met on in this resort? And she said, hey, Gaurav, do you remember me? And I had almost forgotten her. I said, yes, 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 yes. And then it came back to me. And she said, I remembered you told me you are into meditation and you do classes. And so I said, yeah, yeah, I do that sometimes. So she said, I'm part of a company and a global wellness company, and we want to record some meditation courses. So she said, will you do this? So my first reaction was no. I said, it was like so out of the blue. I said, no, no, no. I have other friends. And I connected her to Dr. Aditya. Shurjo was in Mumbai. So I said, why don't you? The company was called Round Glass. So I said, why don't you connect with them and they will do? They are in the city, they will do it. So she said, okay. But she kept calling me back. And the lady doesn't know me. We've just met once. And she said she's not even seen anything of mine. That those days there was nothing on YouTube. And she kept after me. She said, yeah, yeah, your friends are fine, but I also want you to do it. So I discreetly then I said, okay, Malika, by the way, you said you'll also be paying. So how much money is it? So she said, oh, it's about $4,000. That sounded like $40,000 to me. I said, sure, let's do it. And that was another, just when you ask, Divine Mother comes in, she helps you. I couldn't have planned this even if I wanted to, you know. And so leaving some room, the point I was trying to make was leaving some room in our life for God to enter in. If you plan it to a T, Divine Mother can't do anything. She just cannot do anything. I was thinking, why do we do this? um, why do we uh, not include God in our plans, perhaps? Because we say often, the prayer in the beginning that we did today, I will reason, I will, I will act, but guide thou my reason, will, and activity. I think we forget the second part sometimes. I think we do the first part, I will do it, and then, you know, asking for that guidance. But am I going in the right direction? Guide me. I don't know. That part sometimes we forget. Why do we forget? Why do we forget to include God in our plans? And I was thinking, one is, I think sometimes we are afraid. We don't know if God will really come through, isn't it? There's a doubt, or a big doubt. But we're insecure. We don't have enough faith that if I really leave it to God, is He going to come into the picture and help? So I think that's one thing that I realized why we don't do it. I think the second thing is, sometimes we think, really, does God know better than Google? Yes, I mean, He's running the universe, but I need a hotel, and Google has reviews, and Make My Trip can do a much, much, like, you know, does God really need to be involved in these things? Do we need to do that? I think we also think, why for such mundane things? Why bother God when I can do it very, very nicely on my own, isn't it? And we have a mind, we have intelligence. Yeah, that's true. But where is that line where you say, yes, that is there, but then I also involve God? And so I think for these reasons, it's an unknown. We say, like, this was a courageous test for us that, okay, we're going to go to the beach, we're not going to open the map, God will help us. Now, that's unknown territory. And I think we are afraid, you know, to step into such unknown territories. And then we hesitate and we rely on the easier thing, which is the intellect, the mind, technology, all of those things sometimes. And so we think, because of all these things, does this make sense? Yeah. I will come to questions later. I was told that right now. Okay. Yeah. Hmm. Yes, true. That too is there. We are not sure even of our own capability, you know. So that is there. And I think because of that, sometimes when we say, okay, now a pilgrimage is coming up, we have to go out into nature, Badrinath, out to a place we have no idea about. We think, oh, in the city, I have to plan so much my life. If you're going out to this place which I don't know about, I need to plan 10 times more. And we go with that mindset. Try to try to plan for any contingency that could happen. We try to do that. And but that's again missing the point. And that's what I was sharing, that in fact, if you can do it the other way, take that as an opportunity to actually practice what is often so hard in the cities, then that can be a game changer. You remember when Sri Yukteswar ji, just before Yogananda ji was about to go to America, Yukteswar ji told him that wherever you go, even in a wilderness, you will find friends. That's a very powerful statement. Wherever you go, even in a wilderness, you will find friends. And Master said that did prove to be the case. When you start including God in your plans, He will be with you. City, wilderness, Mount Everest, wherever it might be. Wherever it might be. And what happens is magically, when you really start talking to Him and start including Him and telling Him your plans, He starts helping even before you sometimes even can form the prayer in your mind. He comes in. And that's another thing I've just dozens of times experienced now in my life. One time I was at home in Delhi, and I had just moved into a new apartment with another devotee, and there was a housewarming that was going to happen in the evening. We invited some devotees to come for a kirtan. And in the morning, I opened my closet and I said, okay, what shall I wear today? So, and now I'm in the habit. Swami ji would say, make it your habit to talk to God always, no matter what is going on. So, out of habit now, I've done it, I do it, have done it so much, it's second nature now. So, I opened my closet and said, Divine Mother, what should we wear? And I saw that my kurtas, they were quite, it was time to do shopping. And I like to, sometimes buy often my kurtas from Fab India. So I looked, I said, oh no, the pajamas and the count of nice kurtas is dwindling. And I just mentally mentioned that to Divine Mother that, we need kurtas. In the evening, friends came and for the housewarming. And one lady gave me an envelope. I said, wow. Opened it, it was a voucher for Fab India for 5,000 rupees. And I said, okay, thank you to her. But then also, you say thank you to God who is listening all the time. One other time I was on the highway, and in the morning, I was supposed to have a meeting with someone who wanted to talk about sharing the teachings with people. She ran a company. And I don't know, after my meditation, I felt when I meet her, I'm going to first thing tell her, how can I help you? So, sometimes Jayaji, when you call him, he says, hey, hello, Jaya here. How can I help you? We try to do that. We start by that attitude of service rather than, okay, what's in it for me? So when I left the house for that meeting, I thought, okay, I'm going to tell her, how can I help you? I went to the meeting. Unfortunately, meeting went very well. I forgot to say those words to her. And right after that, we had to go to a devotee's house whose dad had just passed away. So they were doing a ceremony at home. So I and two, three other devotees, we drove there. We went to their home, spent some time with them. And, I started noticing, in fact, just from the meeting, um, that I was starting to catch a fever. It was a very hot day in Delhi, summer, peak summer, maybe 45, 48 degrees. And I was starting feeling feverish. And when we left the devotee's home and I was driving, I was just like, get me home. I'm dying. It was burning. So when we were we were on the highway, it was an expressway, and we were just about 3 or 4 kilometers before our place, the tire punctured. I'm like, that's the last thing I needed, Divine Mother. Right now. Then we get out of the car, we had a spare, but this tire, the one that was in the car, it just would not come out. It just would not come out, you know. And there were two, three of us. We all tried our best. And at that point, I just gave it up. I said, you know, the ambulance is going to come now to take me. In that moment, a car, like it's a super highway, so people are just zipping past you. Nobody is stopping. We are just by the side of the road. And this guy in a car, we could see him. He was in the other lane. He was not in our lane. He was in the other lane, and there was a divider, concrete divider. So he couldn't come to this side even if he wanted to. This guy, he went straight and he reached the point where the divider opens. And then he reversed in the wrong side and he came on our path and he stopped his car right out, where we were. He rolled down his window and I looked at him and he said, "Hey, how can I help you?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I can help you. You need help, right?" I said, "Yes, yes, we definitely need help." And the guy came out of his car. He got the tire out somehow. And he had a, believe it or not, he had a, I mean, I've almost never seen this. He had a portable inflator in his back. And so he quickly did that. And I was behind his car, I was seeing it was written angel. I said, "Hey, this is an angel, maybe." And he helped. Then the tire was not coming out. He called his driver, who was home 5 kilometers away. He said, "Come quickly, bring the mechanic." All We didn't say a word to him. We didn't explain that I was dying. We really needed help. He helped, and without us having telling him much, he just left. He said, "My driver will stay here with you. The mechanic is here. When they finish, they will go. I'm going to office." And he left for office. And so, again, when you tell God your plans, when you have that relationship with Him, even before, then it gets fun. That even before, you can say the things to them, to God, to gurus, they enter in the picture. Um, Another story, and I'm sharing several, so we see that there is no limit to God's help, and there is nothing that's too mundane. So that's the point I'm also trying to drive here. Um, One time I was in Ranikhet. I may have shared this before, but I had gone. This was about 5 years ago, and I had gone for a exploration because we were going to have a pilgrimage group come. So that was one of my first times there. I wanted to see where to have them stay. So I spent 4 or 5 days in Ranikhet exploring, and I had a nano at that time. This was Swamiji's nano from Pune. So I drove, and I was alone. And just before I left Delhi, I had a statue of Saraswati Ma. So a friend gave it to me. So I kept it on my dashboard, and I said, "Okay, let's go. Let's Divine Mother. Let's have fun." So we went and did the exploration and spent 4 or 5 days there. But once my work was finished on the fifth day, this was around 4 p.m., 5 p.m., I said, I can't stay in a hotel anymore. It's just like too much of hotel food and, staying in hotels. So ideally, I should have stayed the night in Ranikhet because the drive again is it's a whole day drive, 12, 13 hours. But I reached the end of Ranikhet and it was almost like a 30-second prayer. I don't think I even verbalized it. And I said, "Divine Mother, I'm not staying here. We found the place. It's a success. We should celebrate." And I said, "Find me a place, not here. I'm going to go down, which shouldn't be too expensive. It should be uplifting. I will not stay in some dingy place." And I said, "If there can be a river next to it, wonderful." So demanding, huh? Like putting God to the ultimate test. So I said this prayer, I started my car, and I just, kept going. And at a certain point, Google Maps died, on me. I had no power banks or anything like that. And about evening 6 or 7, I reached Kenchi Dham, which is the first town that comes when you come down. And I thought, this is the place maybe where I will find a place to stay. There is also a little stream by Kenchi Dham. But that day was some festival. Every single room in Kenchidam was booked. I asked a few people, nothing. So just for a moment, when this happened, my fuel gauge was running very low. There was no phone. Just for a moment, fear caught me. I was like, I think today I've bitten off more than I can chew. I've put God to the ultimate test. But then, I remembered other instances, all the times, small and big, when God has come and helped. And I said, "Nahi, let's go." So I rolled down my windows. I started chanting. at the top of my lungs, and I started driving into the night. And I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know where I would stay that night. And when I had driven for about 20 minutes or half an hour, I was in the middle of this was just a jungle stretch. And I just saw a light just in the a little bit ahead, 100 meters. And as I slowed down and I was passing that light, I looked to the right and I saw on a tile. This is very common in the mountains. There's a picture of Ma Durga on her, tiger or lion, is it? And she's sitting there, and it was just on a tile, just one of the walls somewhere. It was a dhaba. And I stopped the car somehow. I looked at it. I stopped the car. I got down and I asked the guy, "Do you also have rooms?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, go downstairs." So I said, "Okay." I went down and it was like a very, very beautiful floor, completely new. And there were rooms, well lit. And the guy said, "Let me show you a room." So I said, "Yeah." The hallway looked very bright, not dingy. And he opens a room. And I was like, "Wow, nice room. Small, very clean. Everything is uplifting." Went to the washroom, very nice. I said, "How much is it?" He said, "Oh, 2,000 rupees." I said, "Wonderful." And then there was a window in the room. So I threw the window open and I looked out, pitch black, can't see anything. But I heard the sound of water. And he said, "Yeah, yeah, there's a river right outside your room." I was like, "Wow, nice room, affordable, not dingy, got the river." But the icing on the cake was that I came out of the room and I saw that outside every room in that hallway, there was a little frame, with something drawn on it and some message below it. And I went close to one of the opposite room, and it said, "This room is dedicated to Divine Mother in the form of Kali." I said, wow, that's the first time I was seeing a room dedicated to, any form of the divine. Then I went to the next one. It said, "This room is dedicated to Divine Mother in the form of Durga." So every room in that floor was dedicated to a different form of Divine Mother. I ran back to my room and you can guess. It says, "This is Ma Saraswati." Doesn't that sound like a miracle? So how do these things happen? It's of course a leap of faith. You have to sometimes be pushed, to be able to even think of these things. But a very good example, isn't it? In autobiography, Yogananda ji once was standing with his sister and he was feeling very happy. And she said, "Why are you smiling?" He was looking at kites in the sky. And didn't he say, "I was just thinking how nice Divine Mother is. She gives me whatever I want." And she said, "Oh, ask her to give those kites then." And he prayed and the kites came. And she ran away. She was scared. But we have to do that too. He was also doing it, but to show us that we too can do it. We have to do it. We must do it. I'll share one more, couple of more interesting things that have happened, small and big. Um, I was yesterday mentioning to some of you this place called Anandlok in Rishikesh, outside Rishikesh rather. It's a beautiful retreat opposite Vashishta Gufa. And I and three devotees, we had gone there about 5 years ago, not to Anandlok. We didn't know it existed. But we went to Vashishta Gufa. We meditated. Then we swam in the Ganga outside. And then we were hungry. And we, that time there was nothing there. It's outside the city. You have to go back to the city. So we were really hungry. So one of us opened the map and somebody saw that across the river from us there was something which said Anand Lok. So I clicked on it. There was a number. I called and I said, "Hey, we are down here at the beach." We could see them. And I said, "We are here at the beach. And do you have food?" It must have seemed strange request. I didn't know what it was. Was it an ashram? Was it somebody's house? It didn't say much. But I said, "We are hungry. Do you have food?" And the man said, "Yeah, actually, we just had a group come, so food is there." And there was a devotee next to me, Tushar. You know him. He's in Pune. He said, he comes to me and he says, "Ask them if they have tomato soup." I said, "Shut up." I said, "Just let me talk. I mean, whatever they give, just eat the darn thing. So I asked him, so what will we get? So he said, "Oh, we have this local cuisine, Pahadi food, and this dal and that." And Tushar comes, "Tomato soup, get out." So I said, "Okay, we are coming. We are down here. It'll take us 15 minutes. We'll walk up and we'll just come." So we start going, and it's a little uphill climb. Takes 15, 20 minutes. You cross the river, you go up, and Tushar is just getting more, more and more weary. I don't know where that desire came in his mind. But as we are going up, he's like, "I wanted tomato soup. And, you didn't ask them about tomato soup." I said, "Let's just go, whatever we are getting." So we reached up there very tired. And as you enter Anand Lok, if you've been there, first thing that comes, one of the first things is their dining room. So we entered the dining room. There was a group sitting there already. Four of us entered. And Tushar was in the front. He was just ahead of me. And one of the people who was serving food, they came and they didn't ask, "Were you the guys who called us?" Who are you? They didn't ask our names. They didn't ask anything. The guy comes with a bowl to Tushar and he says, "Sir, please start with some tomato soup." And Tushar's eyes popped out. Yeah. No, no, it's there. It's there. Yeah, but Anandlok is very close. If you're standing at the beach, you can see it up there. There's golden domes and you can go. They don't advertise. Again, it's one of those places they don't like actually tourists and people from Rishikesh coming. So they, in fact, turn away many people because they want to keep the vibrations high. So if you ever get a chance, do go there. It's a beautiful spot. Very, and one of their gurus is Babaji, as it turned out. Then we had a connection with them, and now we've been taking people, very often there to Anand Lok. So, so tomato soup. So just again to say, nothing is too small. Nothing is too small. But how many of us do that in the cities? I can be honest also, even I don't do it much. I don't know, somehow the yeah, we do it. God, please send me the Uber in 5 minutes. Yeah. But whether it's, tire you need to get fixed, whether it's, I was saying, tomato soup, whether it's, you need a place, if we demand it in the right way, if we say it in the right way, there is nothing God can't do. Why wouldn't he want to? And I'll share a final story, that this is, some of we just recently started a retreat near Ranikhet. This was something that Swami Kriyananda had written about many decades ago. He had suggested that we someday start something in the Ranikhet area. So he had mentioned a community. He'd also mentioned a school there. So it had been on my mind. I had read that letter some years back, and I was waiting. The time was not right some years back, but I was waiting for the right time to come. And in the last few years, a lot of trips to Ranikhet started happening also, which was, I felt, adding. The energy was moving in that direction. So about 2 years ago, I felt that maybe it was time to, maybe something more was trying to happen. The pilgrimages were fine, but I said, maybe Swamiji, maybe let's do an exploration. So I went to Ranikhet and I reached the town and I rented a scooty for a week. And every day I just roamed on the scooty. I had no idea. There was no map. I went this direction, that direction. I just wanted to see what was there in the hills surrounding Ranikhet. And I would drive for hours every day, you know. And keep talking to God, keep talking to Divine Mother. Okay, if there's something, let's see it. So one day I was in this stretch of the forest, which I was driving. This was about 40 minutes away from the market of Ranikhet. And I was driving in the forest, and very beautiful stretch of forest. The road was very good. I was surprised because it's not in the city. Very good road. It's going uphill, and there was a point point from where I could see just the hills and valleys below, and there was a town in the distance, and it was so inspiring. I just felt my energy go up. I said, "Wow, this is great!" It was like a aha moment, and it reminded me actually a little bit of Ananda Village. If some of you have been there, the the setting was very similar. The trees, the foliage, the scenery. So in that moment, I just said to Divine Mother, this is so beautiful. Maybe we should do something here. Maybe we should start something here. Maybe we should live here. And in the very next moment, a second thought came to my mind, caught me by surprise. And the thought was, but if we are here, Divine Mother, and one of us falls sick, where do you get a doctor in these parts? Because it was really I'm driving through the forest. And the thought came, and I'm like, okay, 2 or 3 minutes later, I see a lady walking on the road, very well dressed, middle aged lady. And, as if this is, she lives in the forest or something, just on the road, she's walking towards me. And I was so surprised. I just parked my scooty and I took off my helmet. And before I could say anything, she said, "Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Dr. Nisha." I said, "Doctor?" I was just praying for a doctor. And I was so shocked. I said, "Dr. Nisha, what are you doing here?" She said, "I live here and I run a clinic here." I said, "Where?" And she said, "Come, come." And she took me a little behind. And in the forest, she had, and her husband, they had built a home, they had built a clinic, they had built an office. And she said, "I'm right there. I have one clinic here, and I have one clinic downhill, more where people are staying." I said, "Okay." And then later on, I kept driving. When I was returning, she saw me again. She was completing her walk. And she said, "Come home." And she just called me home. She called me inside, and her husband was there. He's serving me coffee. And she said, "No, we are not the only ones here. There are many of us who live here from the cities." And I discovered, chic and the homes, just to tell you, if you've been to Ananda Village, the homes were just right out of Ananda Village. Very, very beautiful homes, large, and built over a lot of land. They have their farms. They have, her husband had a Macintosh in his office. He's serving me blue tokai coffee. He said, "I just spoke to the postman, and he might start Amazon services next week." I'm like, "Okay, who are these people?" What are they doing here? And she was running that clinic, charitable clinic for people from all over. And so, Doctor, Divine Mother, if we fall sick, where will we find a doctor? Now, as it turns out, this was 2 years ago. And I kept in touch with Dr. Nisha on and off because she is a local. And I said, we are coming. Started doing retreats there at a campsite, family camp. And she would sometimes help. And finally, she is the one who gave us the contact for this retreat house, which was the best place we liked amongst many, many that we looked for. And the retreat house, which we now finally have, it's 500 meters from her house, that place I had originally gone to. So now, literally, anytime somebody falls sick, we go to her place. There's a devotee there right now. She's getting her blood tests through Dr. Nisha. And so, Dr. Nisha is there. We have a doctor. So I was thinking, just to make a final point, that these stories maybe sound amazing, and I'm sure we've all had something or the other like this happen. Maybe not enough. So we sometimes wonder, why is it? I would like every day to be like that. I think I would like every day to be like that also, that where you can have God be so part of your life, your plans, But why doesn't it happen? And I said, yeah, sometimes those first few things, it's our fears. We don't know. It's unknown. Or we think it's too much for God. Why bother him? It's too mundane. Why bother him? That's another thing. But also I've realized, because when so many of these things start to happen, you introspect, why is this happening? It's just like, is there some law here? Or is it random? No, it's not random. There is something at play. And I realized something, in fact, just this morning when I was thinking of this topic, that, when we were children, um, were we all children at some point? Anyone who was not a child? Yeah, we were all children at some point. When we were children and we went to our mother or father, let's say you are 4 years old or 5 years old, and you ask for something. What did you ask for, Arnie? Hmm. See, he asked for a cycle. He got it. Or what did you ask for? Chocolates. Did you get them? Yeah, you got them. Good. So you ask, you say, I need a new school bag. And you get it, hopefully. You ask for a cycle, you get it. Why do you get it? Often you get it very quick. You say it in the morning. By evening, dad comes home. The chocolate is there, or the school bag, or the school bottle is there. Why? Yes. Yeah. Right, right. All those are right answers, but yeah. But there is one more answer, which is the right answer. All these things are right. Because when we are asking, that is also there, very close. Yeah. There is no backup. There is no backup. When you ask for the cycle, it's not going to come from anyone else. And you have that absolute, it's like obvious. It's like, of course, I asked my dad, the cycle will come. It'll come today or tomorrow or after a week, but it will come through him. Your neighbor is not going to give it to you, right? Your friend is not going to get it for you, right? It's going to come through your father or your mother, isn't it? That's why it comes so quickly. And because they also know that you can't get it and you are not wanting to get it from your neighbor's mother or father, isn't it? Yeah. That's the same way with us now in life. Many a times, we pray, we say, Divine Mother, I want only you. One of the chants is there, right? Only thee. I want only you. Do we feel that? Have we reached the point where there is no backup? What do we mean by that? Because if we are thinking, we are asking God for something, but in our mind, we already have four backups lined up. And do we do this? What do I mean by that? Just to explain a little bit. We are, for example, we are wanting wealth. We need a certain amount of money, So we say, God, please help me. I'm stuck. I really need this. But then in our frenzy, we also try 25 other ways to get that. Yeah, we're like, okay, if it doesn't come like this, then I can get it like this, or like this, or like this. Oh, remember that FT was also there. Maybe the interest will just be this much. I'm just exaggerating, but I'm giving an example that we are not able to just stay. I wanted Divine Mother, and I have no backup. There is no one else who's going to give it. There's no one else who's going to come and provide that. It's you or nothing. Does that make sense? Yeah. When when Divine Mother knows that kind of prayer reaches her, the cycle will come. It's going to come the same day. And that's something I've realized in my life. And I was trying to see, how is it? I prayed for a kurta in the morning and the Fab India voucher came in the evening. And many a times it's because I said, yeah, in my case at least, I do feel I have no backup. It's God or nothing. Very often, doesn't always happen, but very often it's either you or nothing. There's no other solution. There is no asking anyone else. There is no going on the streets and begging. There's none of that. It's you or nothing. And so that's something I have really learned in life. Thankfully, like I said, also again through these travels, through these pilgrimages, that it builds your faith if you are willing to do it. It takes courage, of course. It's a little scary when you first start to think about it. But if you can start doing it, there is no end to what God can give you when you need it. It's incredible. It's incredible. And sometimes you think some calamity has happened, but if you've given your life to God, you have no backup. He will give you much better than what you could ever have planned. I'll maybe end with this story that about a year ago, little less than a year ago, I was in Rishikesh again at Anand Lok. I had gone there for seclusion, and Anand Lok. If some of you, Ragini, you've been there, Shivani, you've also been there. Some of you have been there. It's outside Rishikesh, so it's and Haridwar. It's from Rishikesh town. It's about 45 minutes easily. And it's on the other. So the car doesn't go up to Anand Lok. You park on this side, then you walk downhill, then there's a bridge over the Ganga. Then you come uphill, you walk uphill, and then you finally reach Anand Lok. And then hopefully you just stay there. Everything is there for you. Now, one day in the middle of my seclusion, in the morning when I woke up, I was on my bed and I had intense pain in my back. And I knew it because I've had it before. It was a kidney stone attack. So I was like, oh no, not here. I mean, that was my first reaction. Have any of you had a kidney stone attack? No. What are you saying? Wow. Really? I just see, I heard you. I hope you never have one.
No, I did have one. Dr. Usha reported through some psychic healing.
Oh, you're lucky.
Dr. Usha, yeah,
Wow.
so she called me to the next room and she said, "You don't mind if
Huh.
I interfere with your voice system?"
Huh.
Uh, I did have doctors that need to get an operation.
Hmm.
I told her, but anyway, he give me a medication. She took me to another room. She just said, "Receive what I'm giving.
Hmm.
Don't resist. Trust me."
Hmm.
I did.
And
So
it
she
worked.
did something for about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Believe me.
Wow. Ah, you were very lucky, Arnie. Yeah.
After that, that's good.
That's also an example of grace working. But I didn't have that. But I had and if you've never had it, Swamiji would say this and we would listen to him until it happened to me. Because he had kidney stone attacks, and he said women who've delivered a child and who've also had a kidney stone attack, they have said that kidney stones are more painful. And I have not delivered a child, but I can tell you that it is, you wish that, you are taken up into the heavens. The pain is unbearable. So I was there that morning. I got this kidney stone attack, and my first thought was, not here. So far from home, you don't know where you're going to go, what you're going to do. And that's how the mind works, which is what I was talking earlier. We often think from the mind, and then we do things, we forget God is also there, in there. That was the best thing that could happen to me, that I got it there. Though I have to say that an ambulance came after a while, and I had to a 45-minute hilly ride with the pain, come down to Rishikesh and get admitted to a hospital. But that was the best place God chose for me to have that. And why do I say that? In our community where we live, I and some others live, there are 99% of, there is no guy. There's my mom, there's my sister, there is two, three other devotees who are all ladies. And it would, I imagine, it would just have, some of them are already dealing with their own health challenges. It would just have completely thrown people off that what do we even do when such a thing happens. Here in Anand Lok, there are 20 guys on staff. And so before I knew it, this just happened like magic. I had the pain, I called someone, and the cook came up and he started. I mean, it was like Divine Mother came into the guy. He's a cook. I see him every day cooking. He just became like my mother. And he's giving me a massage. I vomited because it was just, many things happened then. He's just like a little baby, has to be taken care of. He was not shirking from anything. He's just cleaning up the room. He's getting me, into my clothes because we had to go to the hospital. And I was just like, I was so grateful. I was in pain, but I was like so grateful that this was happening before my eyes. These guys don't know me. They're not family. And next thing I know, I come down and the owner and his father, along with the other staff, in the little time that they had, they constructed a seat for me, a palanquin, to be taken to the other side of the river. So they had a chair and they put sticks on the side. They tied it very quickly and they said, "Come, we'll take you." And so 4 or 5 of them came with me. They brought me down, crossed the bridge, went up the other side. Then they came with me to the hospital in the ambulance. Then they got me admitted. Then I had to have a surgery. We found a beautiful hospital which is run by an ashram. It's a very nice hospital. I mean, the technology is top notch, but it's an ashram hospital. And so I had to get admitted there. And so these guys from the ashram, they are staying with me. From Anand Lok, they stayed with me, getting all the tests done. The surgery got done. I checked out, took me back to Anand Lok because I had to rest. I couldn't just drive back to Delhi. And so, you know, it happens. And I think that night I also had a dream because I was really at my low point. And, Yogananda ji also came and he smiled and I said, okay, it's all good. It's all good. God is there. God is taking care. And so I think I'll just end with that, just keeping these things in mind, all of these things, and increasing our faith, not having, trying our best, doing, whatever it takes, but getting to the point where you have no backup plans. It's God or nothing. Try that. Try it with something small first. Don't jump off to something big. And then build on it. And then build on it. And God gives you the strength. Divine Mother is there. And she takes care. She takes care of all of us. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So we'll, I think, have an arati now. Yeah. You can all stand.
You can also go ahead.
vanish my delusion. Shri Yogananda, light to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, vanish my delusion. Yogananda, light to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, vanish my delusions. Light to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, vanish my delusions.
You can just pass around the light.